Hi, this is Paul Savetto for Co-Optimus,
Hey, I'm Ian Scott, lead designer on Ascend.
and today we are checking out some of the improvements that have been made to Ascend New Gods since its debut at E3 in 2012.
Cool. So thanks for tuning in. It's cool to kind of get a chance to show you guys where we've been at since E3. In time since E3, we've been pushing really hard to produce the actual game because, as you know, demos oftentimes are just meant to kind of show off initially what the game's all about, but now we actually have to make that game. So what you're seeing here is another level that takes place in the Highlands. So the early level in the game, and on this hill up here, we've got a bit of a sprawling village. We didn't really show off anything quite like this during our E3 demo, so it's cool to show a slightly more expansive environment here. As you can see, it's not populated with humans quite yet, but don't worry, we'll get there. But the large part of the game of Ascend is about capturing these villages, and capturing those shrines that you saw, where the ground aligns all around it, basically strengthening your god's hold on the world. So as you do that, you'll see the props in the village change. You'll see the villagers in there and their behaviors updated to reflect the alignments. And this is just a small piece of one of our levels here. You can see, we've got some gray box stuff in the background going on there, and a brand new badass set of armor for our hero. And on that note, being an action RPG style game, you're gonna have a lot of different pieces of gear to equip. You saw a couple of examples of light and dark armor in our E3 presentation. As we can show you here, we've actually got a pretty diverse selection of even just helms here. You might recognize that helm back from the E3 demo, but there's just a ton of super detailed, really awesome looking gear for you to collect. Coming on over here, we've actually got a lot more of our skill interface up and going. We showed off a couple of alignment abilities for E3, mostly just dark and light skills, but here we've actually got a couple of void skills unlocked as well. We got this black hole skill that's really awesome, creating a vortex that sucks guys in a spiral into it. These seekers, which is kind of like a Saturn missile if you've got the fireworks or whatever. It's very impressive visually. You can kind of get a sense of the direction we're going though for UI style, and also just to kind of show you guys some of the direction we're basically going with skills. Is like each one of these abilities pulls up this really cool looking interface where you can actually get very specific upgrades for different parts of the skill. So you see I can go here, there's a cooldown upgrade. If I purchase that, I actually unlock access to different nodes. And so, we're trying to allow players to cater those abilities to their playstyle, augment them in some kind of cool ways, and also, coming back here to the active skills you have slotted to use in the game, kind of come up with your favorite build abilities that you really like. As you can see, I've got those down there on the bottom right, slotted on my bar. Cast these abilities. Meteor Storm was shown off during E3 as one of the dark abilities you unlock. And we've got just a whole bunch of these abilities planned to show off. You can also see in here we've got some new animation sets for our player character. This is a badass looking sword. We're really kind of stoked about, I'm personally pretty excited about this particular style of weapon. It's a blade with a leather wrapped second hand position. So you can swing this, in wider, slower, more deliberate arcs to hit multiple enemies at the same time. And we've introduced a second button to the combat system to allow for heavy attacks, and we'll be announcing more of the details of our combat system in the coming weeks. So for now, I just to show you guys, I'll kind of go through a couple of the weapons because, without spoiling too much, we just got here's a scythe from the E3 demo. We just got so many cool pieces of art in this game. It's so exciting. So hopefully I'm not showing off anything that we're trying to hold off till later as a surprise. But, lots of polearms. We've got tons of axes. We got some one-handed weapons. But even the one-handed weapons in our game are pretty beefy. You're a big-ass guy, and you got to have some really awesome weapons. So, it's really fun for our artists to actually, take a stab at creating something totally unique. And it's one of the best parts, I guess, of having a new IP is you kind of get to just go with it and run with it and just make it up as you go, I guess. I don't know. The store continues to get filled out with lots of cool items for you to purchase. We still have weapons, armor by category. We've got our skills you can purchase if you'd rather spend souls on that. Plenty of meta war abilities for you to use in the game for helping and hindering friends online. And so basically, we're pushing really hard to not only build out more of the world, but also to get all that additional content in weapons, skills, armor, enemies. And so at this point, I'll probably jump out real quick, and we'll load up a different level just to kind of show another environment. Since this one actually, this level actually builds off of what was seen in the E3 demo, which is a Highland Mountain level where you're kind of climbing up this hill ever onward up into the. Well, I won't spoil anything, so let's go ahead and just warp over to this other level. Check out the lake.
Okay, now we're looking at a brand new area. This is the Highlands Lake.
Cool. So, just to give you guys a little bit of a sneak preview as to another one of our Highlands levels. So this is the lake. It's a really early version of it. We actually haven't done a full gameplay pass on this space, but you can kind of see, again, it's an early state for the level, but it's got a pretty awesome level of detail. The lake here is a level you'll access a little bit later on, and you're going to encounter some more difficult enemies. It's a little bit more wide and open than our Highlands Mount level. It's basically this central castle area with a village nestled up next to it, surrounded by a gigantic lake. We've updated our skybox and atmosphere and lighting. We're injecting a lot more detail into our environment props. Kind of see we're getting some actual extra props actually added as we go. But this is just one of the environments that the players will be able to explore. As you might have seen a little bit around that corner earlier, and I think there's some around over here. Yeah, we got dungeon doors, lots of interior spaces for the player to explore. But expect when playing the game and getting to this point, you're going to start learning a lot more about that big badass guy we call the Titan.
All right, and now Ian is going to tell us a little bit about the road ahead for Ascend.
So, we're still pretty early in development, but we're also wrapping it up. It's a XBLA title, so, we don't have all the time in the world. And moving on, we're going to continue to build out a lot more of our environments. We only showed off a few small sections of our outside levels. We have tons of dungeons of all different types that we've got at multiple stages of production right now. A random system that's in production for that content, as well as developing some dynamic content systems. And that's really just a fancy way of saying that, as I'm playing Ascend, the online stats that we're tracking have an influence on the content in your game. And so, an example of that is having a player invade your game dynamically, drawing that guy from our database where we track all of the sacrificed and ascended characters and putting them into your game in some interesting and unique ways. So, the next couple of months, we're basically going to be cramming as much content as we possibly can into the initial release of the game, as well as expanding on the actual gameplay that accompanies that stuff. Hopefully the next time we have a full, formal public showing of the game, we'll certainly have new enemies and some new environments, surprises, and details to share. I would certainly expect for the Void God to kind of have his moment in the spotlight. So, thanks again for just taking the time to check it out. Please stay tuned to the Ascend Game website, and just thanks again for the interest.
All right.